Hello, my name is Jamini Samaratunga. I'm a quantum transformation and embodiment coach. I help business leaders and social leaders to transform stress into vitality, pain into purpose, painful, limiting, blocking, negative energies into inspiring business ideas and inspiring social development ideas. Welcome to the fourth knowledge sharing session of NLP for Success video series. NLP stands for Neuro Linguistic Programming. NLP is an integrated part of my life now for more than 20 years. I have practiced meditation since age 3. That means I have more than 30 years of experience in meditating, going into deep silence and inner reflection, being able to completely stay in seclusion from the outside influences of the world. Through these practices, along with energy healing techniques, the NLP that I am teaching essentially is quantum NLP. It is more than just programming the mind positively to have better results. I intend to add value to life. That is essentially my vision and purpose. NLP has transformed every aspect of my life: mental, physical, emotional, financial, social, and most importantly, spiritual. This understanding about this interesting, practical, applied psychology has enabled me to bring about a balance between the material world and the spiritual world. And I like to share that wisdom with the world, hence committing and investing my time and energy to do this video series at an interesting time in Sri Lanka. Today is May 12th, year 2022, and it's a very challenging time for us. Regardless of the challenges we are facing at this time, including the very difficult time we faced during the pandemic in 2020 and 2021, we have been doing what we're supposed to do in terms of our life purpose and vision in every possible way. And I choose to continue to do the same. Today's video is specifically useful for even political leaders of our country specifically, and any other country, of course. So, in today's discussion, I like to talk to you about a very powerful NLP concept, framework, and the model called Neurological Levels. Neurological Levels, the concept, this model was introduced by the person called Robert Dilts. Before Robert Dilts, there was this concept called logical levels. But Robert Dilts, having done quite a lot of research on human psychology and with the understanding of NLP, has introduced this model that I'm going to teach you today, which is called Neurological Levels. It is different to logical levels Gregory Bateson has discussed. In terms of logical levels concept, when we have a problem in life, we think about the problem in a linear way. There's a cause, there's an effect, and if we want to change the effect, we have to change the cause. It is a linear way of looking at life and resolving problems. But when you look at neurological levels, it is a non-linear way of resolving problems and overcoming challenges. I personally consider neurological level alignment is a very holistic and transformative concept. Rather than logically or in a very practical, linear, analytical way, we are trying to fix a problem. If you use a non-linear and a more holistic and a progressive and developmental method, problems can be transformed into opportunities. In a linear approach, we fix problems and then we learn that mental model of fixing or troubleshooting problems. That approach becomes our way of life. Now, I consider that shouldn't be the approach all the time. If you live life always troubleshooting, fixing, firefighting, always finding the root cause, where's the problem is, and then try to fix the problem, hoping to get a better result, I consider that approach to be extremely stressful. However, majority of mankind live in that kind of a linear mentality. But the neurological level alignment is a very non-linear and very ecological and perhaps a model that is quite close to nature. The way Mother Nature resolves problems on its own. Now, if you look at the nature, a river, fundamentally just the Mother Earth, trees, birds and other animals, and how they resolve problems, we can just have some theories around it, but we can't be definitive about how Mother Nature solves its problems. We can only come close to what's happening in the nature through some theories and frameworks. But we're never going to understand it fully or comprehend it fully, although we are part of nature. Because we have this rational, logical thinking mental faculty, we are actually overusing it. Therefore, we create so much of stress in our lives. Now, I have more than 15 plus years experience working with business leaders specifically. And I myself have been leading a business and sometimes small groups of people for different projects and courses. What I've noticed about the way of managing problems as leaders, and especially in our country, is that we often use this troubleshooting approach to deal with problematic situations. Therefore, as a nation, we continue to have one challenge after another. And during the last 5 to 6 years, without a break, it is all about facing challenges as a nation. Now, I think it's time we review our leadership models, leadership strategies. Any leadership strategy essentially is fueled by some kind of a philosophy and a thinking strategy. So, as a leader, you have learned these mental models or thinking strategies or your philosophy from someone else. If you are coming from a family background where there had been a lot of people who were leading businesses or the country or groups of people, essentially if you're coming from a background where there had been leaders, you have borrowed leadership models, thinking methods or philosophies from your generations. And if you don't have that kind of family background, still you will have mental models and leadership strategies pretty much borrowed and learned from outside people, mostly the type of leaders and people that you admire. Either way, there's a problem with it, because these thinking strategies are from someone else. They are from different backgrounds, different cultural backgrounds, different time periods on earth. Therefore, application of those mental models may not be very appropriate to the present time situation. So this is why we find a lot of the time social leaders and even business leaders are struggling with all their good intentions and capabilities to fix a problem that is going on. They are not able to actually handle and adapt to a situation effectively. This is my observation. So, what is my suggestion? My suggestion comes from this famous NLP model called Neurological Level Alignment or Neurological Levels. When you understand these neurological levels, which is more hierarchical and progressive, it is this way. Linear models of thinking are this way. It's parallel to the earth. But if you look at neurological level, it is vertical. It is more like aligning with your spine, parallel to your spine. And it is developmental. If you look at linear model, it can fix problems. Of course it can fix problems, but it's about fixing, not using problem as an opportunity to grow to a higher level. So let's get started with this concept. The neurological levels discussed by Robert Dilts essentially has 6 levels. The first level is environment. Second level is behaviors. Third level, skills, capabilities, or in other words, competencies. Next level is identity and values, basically beliefs and values. The next level is values and beliefs. And after values and beliefs, you have identity. Beyond identity, the last level is purpose or mission or the greater you. So let me go through each of these levels, one after the other. So I want you to visualize the neurological levels as a triangle. The bottom is environment, next is behaviors, next capabilities or competencies, next values and beliefs, and the next layer is identity, and the topmost is the purpose or the mission. In other words, the higher you or the greater you, what is beyond the identity. Let's go through this pyramid or the neurological levels. The application of this model is to help us find solutions to a problematic situation. Neurological levels concept can be used specifically by leaders to deal with a problematic situation. And using this model, I firmly believe leaders can break free from old patterns, repetitive cycles of same mistake being made in a different way. breaking free from so-called generational karmas affecting your identity as a leader. Finding not just solutions to problems, but using the presenting problem as a great opportunity to bring about something magical and miraculously transformative for the benefit of the self and certainly for the benefit of the world. And specifically, if you are a leader, for the benefit and well-being of your followers. So let's understand this model conceptually. The first level is environment. Environment is where our attention first gets fixated when there is a problem. When we perceive a problem in our life, our awareness and attention gets fully anchored in the physical environment. We start believing that the problem is in the environment because the problem anyway start manifesting at the physical level or at the environment level. The pain and the suffering and all the troubles start appearing as evidence in the physical environment. Naturally, our attention gets fixated in the so-called context or the situation. So logically, in a linear thinking way, it makes all the sense to troubleshoot every problem that appear in the environment. It's like if you are having a hammer and you are very specialized in hammering down nails, wherever you go, you will find out nails that need to be hammered down, right? So when people start trying to fix problems at the physical level, that is the kind of approach we take in life. Like everywhere we look, whatever we see, hear, feel, taste and smell, it's about fixing something, need to fix something, and the sense of urgency and the stress is very high. It's almost like impossible for a person to see beyond the physical condition. It becomes the reality of the person. That physical environment, physical reality is the only reality. It becomes the truth. But it's not the truth. It's far, far, far away from the truth. It's only part of the truth. I would like to call the physical conditions that we find as problems are only symptoms of a deeper problem. Let's understand this further. The next level of awareness is behaviors. So we have a problem. Now we are going to reflect and find out how I have contributed through my behaviors and actions creating this problem. We invite leaders across the board, be it a family leader like mother or father, a business leader, social leader, country leader, political leader, whoever is trying to solve a problem, to go inwards now. Take your awareness and attention inwards. Because it's normal for anyone to get hooked on to the external condition, thinking and believing the problem is outside. But the problems that we see outside is first created inside in our psyche. Not only my psyche alone, but many other people who lived generationally contributed to the problem. Consistently having same set of thinking, and our thinking is reflected in the outside environment. As a leader, you got to be able to understand this first. The problem that I'm experiencing outside is a reflection of my thinking first. Before even calling it's a problem of thinking of followers, especially if you are a leader, you got to understand how your thinking is happening. So the second step is about reflecting about the behaviors. How am I behaving? How I have behaved in the past? What are my consistent behavioral patterns that had caused this current situation? In other words, how have I contributed creating this? How am I responsible for this? I know this requires a lot of courage and a lot of humbleness, integrity. You really can't use these models without higher level of conscientiousness and openness and willingness to learn. Openness and willingness to let go of what is no longer serving. That flexibility, that adaptability, that situational leadership quality. You really can't get to that second level without those character traits. So, on a side note, I like to mention the prerequisite character traits you require, you need to have in order to be able to use this kind of a model to help you become a great leader, become a great human being for that matter, and to have a great life during your time on earth. Alright? So, second level is about behaviors. Reflecting how what I think, what I say, what I do. Think, say, and do. Those are the three ways we do things. There's only three ways we do things. We think, that's a doing. We say things, that's a doing, that's an action. And then we do things. A complicated set of behaviors come out as a combination of mental, physical, and emotional and energetic play out. A complex reflection of what's happening inside. That's a behavior. So we fundamentally say things, think things, and act. All in all, it's behaving. Even if I don't say something, if I'm thinking something, I'm doing something. So you got to be able to reflect and find out how specifically you have created this problem situation in your world. In your world. Why do I use that word, in your world? Am I saying that there are many worlds? That we are living in different worlds? Well, we are. We do have something called an objective world. No question about that. But the same world is experienced by each and every one of us differently. It's a subjective experience of the objective world. So when I say I have a problem in my position as a leader, I'm talking about my subjective reality. So if you want to solve problems in your subjective reality, you got to be able to fully comprehend what's going on in your subjective world. What's happening within you. Without understanding that, you are bound to fail no matter what. You can have great DNA. You can have great requirements like previous track record, previous success stories, some good qualifications. Doesn't really matter. Life is changing. There's one thing permanent in life, that everything is constantly changing. In a constant changing environment, past is not going to be present in front of you in the same old way. So if you want to be an effective leader, you got to be ready to understand this fully and say bye-bye to your past identity. And even to consider sometimes your past success stories as not strengths but rather weaknesses. Sometimes winning makes us too arrogant, but failing makes us really humble. And that gives an opportunity for us to unleash much, much deeper and powerful and existential qualities as human beings, which makes us truly human and certainly leave a legend for the future generations. So now let's move on to the next level. So there's a physical environment and there's an issue there. You want to resolve it. You try to fix it. If it is not getting fixated and you continuously suffer with a lot of stress, it's time to reflect and look at the problem from a next perspective, that is from the perspective of internal reflection and seeing how your behaviors has contributed to this problem. Now you are at a higher level, and also you are anchored inwards. Now your attention is inwards. That means you are going to take charge of the things that is within your control. If you try to fix everything on the environment, you are actually trying to fix things completely out of your control. Hence continuous chaos and failure and stress. But if you want to de-stress and take control of a situation, the only way that I can recommend is to go inwards. So the first step, finding out how I have contributed to this problem through my behaviors. What I used to think, what I used to say, and what I used to do. Then we require to look at it from the next elevated awareness. That is competencies, knowledge, skills, and abilities or capabilities. Now you have to reflect and find out what am I truly capable of and what I am not capable of. What is the competency gap? What is the competency gap I have as a leader? I may have a lot of knowledge that I have brought from past. Maybe my knowledge is now my weakness, that I have too much of knowledge that I have carried forward from past experiences, which is really blinding me from seeing certain things for what it is. Maybe I'm too complacent about my capabilities. Maybe there's a skills gap in terms of communication. Maybe there is it's a skill issue about leading complex situations, deeply complex situations. Maybe as a leader, you are ineffective in handling emotions because you were once trained and you were successful in situations where emotions were not highly of use. So you are pretty much deaf and blind and numb to human emotions. If that is the case, it's so important you start understanding human emotions, starting with your own complex emotions. So I gave only a few examples. So, of course, I think this is the level where as leaders, business leaders, social leaders, that you require coaching support. Support of an objective coach to tell you things for what it is, directly, without any fabrication. A coach who's able to tell you what you don't see about yourself. Because especially when it comes to leadership positions, people who have acted previously as leaders, and especially if they have some track records of success, there can be too much of complacency that we are not able to critically assess our capabilities. So we lack awareness, self-awareness. And when we lack self-awareness, we lack social awareness. This is an essential part of emotional intelligence. It's important someone else who is genuinely interested in our well-being and who's professional and who knows the subject, who knows some psychology and energetics, and be able to see the gaps and give you developmental feedback with love and respect. I like to remind all leaders really need a good coach. Not just advisors always confirming what you're doing is right, but a coach who can understand human mind, heart and emotions and energy. Right. So looking at competency gap helps you to find out why you used to behave the way you behaved. How your behaviors contributed to this problem. It is simply because there is a competency gap. Once you have a good understanding, reasonably good awareness about the competencies, especially competency gap, you know where you are, you know where you want to go, and when you look at your own skills and capabilities, you see the gap, you perceive the gap, you know the gap in terms of knowledge, skills and capabilities. It's now time for you to go further up the ladder and become aware of something much more deeper. Although it is here, it is about becoming aware of something at a higher level. It's a deeper understanding about yourself. That is the level of values and beliefs. It's about asking, why do I have this competency gap? Why? The question is actually why. The problem, when you look at the environment, the question is, where is the problem? When we look at the behavior, the question essentially is, what? What did I do, or what am I doing creating this problem in this situation where I'm in? And the next is how. How specifically I did whatever I did and contributed to where am I. Now it's a question of like, why am I doing this? Why am I having this competency gap? Why do I lack this skill? Why do I lack empathy? Why do I lack seeing the way forward and having a vision for my business, for the country, for my project, for the next 10 years? Why am I not having that skill? Why do I have a problem in terms of expressing my true feelings? Why do I have a problem of understanding complex scenarios? Why do I lack skills in terms of social intelligence? Why? That is where we find answers in terms of the values and beliefs. When you investigate why you are behaving in certain way and this situation has come up, you'll find out there are certain empowering positive beliefs you hold. At the same time, there are disempowering limiting beliefs you hold about yourself and the world outside you. Along with beliefs, there are values. There's a value system. Maybe you have a particular value system that you have borrowed generationally. And maybe it's time to discard that value system. Maybe that value system is of no use to the present situation. Values are fundamentally what we consider as important. Beliefs are what we consider as to be true and correct without even having enough evidence. We just believe things to be true without even support of evidence. Let's say I believe I'm a great leader. Only until I get to hear from my followers that I'm not good enough. Only I face 10 mistakes and make huge blunders, and then now I'm being called upon to question my belief that I'm a good leader, I'm an effective leader. Having a belief that I'm an effective leader is a good thing. I think every leader should have such a belief that I'm good. However, if you have other beliefs that is going against this belief that I'm an effective leader, you may say one thing to the world, but your behaviors will be otherwise. Essentially, there will be a question of integrity in terms of your behaviors. I remember many years ago when I used to do some leadership training using NLP, I used to quote a particular famous example from a famous person in the world, and it's quite relevant to talk about that person at present with all due respect to the personality. Only as a reference example, let me quote this example. This is a famous cricket leader, cricket captain of the Pakistan team, Imran Khan. Now he became the Prime Minister of Pakistan as well, and he's no longer now. So I repeat to you, it's irrelevant to what he went through as a person, but this particular example is so relevant. In one of his leadership forums as a cricket captain, very successful cricket captain, he quoted this, his personal experience, and I am quoting it here in this video. That is, in one of the match series, the Pakistan team was continuously losing, but he was so determined to go to the finals. Now it came to this last two decisive matches. So he was so sure and certain he wanted to win, no question about that. He's skilled, capable, and he believed that he's going to win with his team. Before the match, they meet in the dressing room, and there is some kind of energy and moral upbeat discussion, or that kind of leadership talk to give people the energy and the drive and the motivation. So he talks to the team, and they go to the ground and they lose the game. Imran Khan says he comes back And this was a huge blow on his ego and identity as a leader, because he really believed they're going to win, and they're left with one more decisive match. The motivation level of the team is really low. There's so much of doubt about themselves and about the captaincy. As a team, they are losing their energy, right? He says, it was time for me to really reflect and do a soul searching. Soul searching, right? It really requires, as a leader, for you to be able to do some soul searching. And of course, that requires time alone, some secluded isolation. I wonder how many leaders take that luxury. They may have many other luxuries, but I wonder how many leaders really take that time off to think and reflect. So in the story, so Imran Khan says he went into the dressing room and he went to the bathroom. He looked at himself in the mirror, and when he looked at himself, he looked into his eyes in the mirror. He could just see himself in the mirror. When he looked into his eyes, what he saw was devastating, he said. What he saw was a man who did not really believe that they can win or he can win. Although he went on shouting, screaming, punching, motivating and uplifting everyone in the team, deep inside he did not believe that he could do this. He could see that doubt and fear, that inadequacy, so to say, about himself when he looked at himself directly in the eye. Now, he did not see himself in this light before. This failure made him to reflect and see that aspect of himself for the first time. And he decided to make corrective measures. It was only shifting his mindset, because he now is aware as to what to fix or what to change. That is his own belief system. Although he kept on saying, trust me, we can do this, he did not himself believe it. The next day, the final decisive match, to be able to go to the finals, he didn't have much talk with the team. It was half of his normal talk to the people. He just looked into everyone's eyes and said, we are going to win it. Just do your best. That's it. And they win the match. So in neurological level alignment model, this level that we discuss after competencies is values and beliefs. So as a leader, it is important you investigate and find out what is important to you and what you really consider to be true about yourself and the world outside of you. Maybe there's a question of a disintegration between your values and beliefs. For an example, I have seen in business organizations, specifically I'm referring to the CEOs and the one who at the top, they say people or the employees' well-being is very important to them. They really say that, and maybe they mean it. However, they continuously have retention problems, performance issues, disciplinary issues, loyalty issues, simply all HR issues. Now, I wonder if at the top level, if you really cared for the well-being of your people, will there be a concern about people leaving, and especially good people leaving, and problematic behaviors at workplace? It's challenging for you to answer this question, isn't it? Especially if you have an ego and too strongly, rigidly held ego that you don't want to admit that you're wrong, this may be a very challenging question. However, great leaders always have flexibility to be able to do some soul searching and find out those gaps of integrity. You say one thing, you declare your belief system and value system, but deep inside you don't really believe that is important. Like you really don't really value the well-being of people. It's not important to you. Maybe what is important to you is to just be famous, just to hold on to your position and prove that you are right. But it was not even a concern that you genuinely didn't care for the well-being of the people or your followers. I know this discussion is quite challenging and you can have it only with a qualified coach. It can be very challenging. I understand that. Especially leadership positions, people at leadership positions, at the higher. Because higher we go up the ladder, higher the ego, meaning false sense of identity. And when we rigidly hold on to those values and beliefs which are really disintegrated and not fully aligned, we say one thing, but deep inside we believe otherwise. Our true value system is not demonstrated to the world. However, it comes out through our behaviors. When we behave in certain ways, our followers or people get to know who we really are. And then we wonder why we are not getting the support from the people. So it's getting harder now. But when we open a can of worms, we got to finish it. That's how we say in NLP coaching. If you open a can of worms, you rather finish it. It requires a lot of courage and humbleness. And I usually do it with a smile. That's the easiest way to deal with the stress that is building up inside. So the next level after values and beliefs is called identity. It's a cracker. To become aware of the answer to the question, who am I? Now I have some idea about why I do what I do, or why this problem is there in the first place in this environment that I'm in, with all my capabilities and competencies, with my so-called good intentions. Now I can see how I have contributed creating this. It's going beyond values and beliefs and delving deep into our soul and finding out what I consider myself to be as a person, as a being. Who am I? Identity. So usually we develop our identity based on our social conditioning, starting from mother and father, the parenting stage, then the education, socialization process. We develop loads of ideas about ourselves as a person. This is the person I am. And if you are a leader, appointed or self-appointed, or situationally things have come up that you have ended up become a leader, playing that role, a situational leader, whatever it is, you have now this identity. I am a leader responsible at that level for helping or navigating environment and so many people, directing so many people under me. That understanding of who you are determines whatever that happens thereafter, underneath the pyramid, the lower layers. Even values and beliefs, if you ask yourself, why do I have this integrity issue? Why do I have one belief but my value system is opposing? And I'm not even able to express clearly and communicate to the world, especially to my followers, about my true value system. Because I'm trying to give the followers a good impression and what I believe is good for them to hear, but that's not true me. That is identity. So if you as a leader, you don't know who you really are, who the hell or heaven you are, right? Meaning the negative side of your identity and the so-called light, positive side of your identity, if you are not fully aware of your sense of self, that can create so much of troubles in your position as a leader. And you would wonder why. I don't think you should keep wondering. We can fix it. That's why we, people like us here in this world, as teachers, as guides, as coaches. So I call myself as a quantum energetic and embodiment coach. I used to be an NLP coach, an executive coach, an NLP trainer, hypnotherapist, applied psychologist, etc. But when it comes to working with leaders, I refer myself as a quantum transformation and embodiment coach. Meaning, I help business leaders and social leaders, political leaders, any leader, anyone who perceived to be a leader, having that identity as a leader, to evolve from their present identity that had been causing so much of stress, tension, troubles, and made you an ineffective leader. But deep inside you believe still you are a leader, good leader, and you want to deliver something meaningful. You have genuinely good intentions, but maybe you are having your own struggles, and I know the pain at that level. Because at the top, you are alone. You really don't have friends, real friends. Either people are always affirming everything you do, or you have extreme enemies who's always opposing you. But there's no one really understands you for who you are, and you want to be seen just as another humble, basic human being, another soul needing guidance and support, love and appreciation and respect. Regardless of the leadership position, we all demonstrate deep inside we have an inner child, and that inner child comes out until we die. In fact, we all are children. There are really no adults. If you look at the whole of animal kingdom, all species of animals, they're only children. Even your parents, they are children of another set of children. So across the board, they are children. We can become only adults in terms of the way we see things and only breaking the generational patterns. Otherwise, we are repeating what our parents and the previous people did. We are only children of, we are a product of previous generation. But there is a category called transitional characters. Meaning, they are the ones who will change the genetic codes. They are the ones who break the pattern, old pattern, and create a new knowledge, new wisdom, and create something new for the world. That's always, in every generation, there's always a transitional character. Every generation, there's always a transitional character. If there wasn't a transitional character, we wouldn't have this human existence going on. So let's get to the discussion. So that level at the top is called identity. In neurological level alignment, you are expected to go one step after the other and become aware of yourself at all these levels. Sometimes this exercise can be quite challenging because we are too anchored into our past behaviors. We are too associated with our identities, beliefs, values. And sometimes it's a question of not being able to see things. We just need someone to point at certain directions and be able to become aware. And the last level, the final level in the pyramid of awareness in neurological levels is greater mission or greater you, higher you. What does that mean? That means deep inside our psyche, deep inside our biological DNA, deep inside our psychological awareness of who we are, deep inside our energetic DNA, simply deep inside our sense of self, there is this awareness of what is that I'm here to do. What is my purpose in this name and form? What's my mission on earth? We all have that. Just like if you look at a mango tree, the whole purpose of a mango tree is to become a mango tree, in a fully fledged mango tree. A mango tree can never become a pineapple or a coconut tree. Mango tree is supposed to embrace its full identity as a mango tree and live the best of it. Similarly, we all have that so-called soul blueprint. And in that place, there is this awareness about my mission on earth. With my experience, the best answers to any problem situation comes from that place, comes from that higher awareness. That is the place where you get inspiration and true confidence. True confidence, authentic confidence, unwavering, unswaying, fearless, authentic, super solid, natural, beautiful, sustainable confidence as a leader. It's truly natural. You really need not change anything about it. But it's all about tuning in or activating that neurology. Activating that neurology. That's an energy that needs to fire within you. And you start operating from that place of awareness. No longer a victim of a situation, but the one who finds light in the darkness. One who super solidly knows what to do, how to do, when to do. I would like to quote one interesting example from my career as a NLP trainer, HRD consultant over the last 15 years. Without referring to the name of the company, let me just quote the example. So this was around 8 years ago. I was offering my services as a trainer to a multinational company, and this company suddenly faced with the really critical condition. The labor union and the production level workforce went on a complete strike. The whole production plant got shut down, and the executive, middle management, senior management got stranded in a situation where they were not even able to access, communicate openly, freely, and safely with the labor union and the lower level workforce. There was suddenly a huge collapse in the organization, production, lower level staff, and management staff not even being able to meet and have a negotiation with the production staff and the union. This was devastating. This was affecting and possibly costing so much in terms of country's economy, because this is a multinational company and the jobs of employees at stake. Obviously, when these things happen, the political situation is involved in it, and it's affecting overall economy, social impact to the area in concern. All these things were happening. I suddenly got to know about this, and me being me, meditating, aligned with my spiritual purpose on earth, in the role as a coach and a businesswoman and a consultant. Yes, that's my earthly role, but I do have my spiritual identity clarified and I operate from that place. Whatever I do on earth, I operate from that place. Moment I hear this news, my first instinct, which and natural heart-centered approach and intention was to help them. That was purely coming from my heart. It was not even a question about doing business with them, because they are my clients already and my client is in trouble. I immediately wrote to the HR manager, a lady, and saying that I'm willing to help you, because it was a situation at that time, since there was a political party also was involved in this situation. As often when it comes to business in our country, if there's a problem in the business, there's always a political agenda behind. And it was a situation, there was pretty much no one willing to help this company because of the critical judgments made about their production and the claims, allegations about their production. No one was willing to help them. But thousands of people's lives were at stake, because this is a big company bringing a lot of money to the country. I reached out and I offered my service, FOC, free of charge. I just wanted to help the situation. That was my inner calling, so to say. It didn't really matter to me. I went with my gut instinct and my inner calling. Immediately, the HR manager responded and they scheduled a special seminar, not even in the company premises, because they cannot meet their own staff in the company premises. It was really a risky situation. So they somehow arranged this meeting outside the company premises in a different hotel nearby. And I go in and I meet a different group of people, a different profile. It's the first time I'm meeting that kind of group of people. I used to train mostly executives and above. It didn't really matter to me. I just started talking from my heart. Guess what? I'm a complete outsider. After the first conversation, there was some level of rapport. I came from a pure, authentic place of wanting to help everyone. I was not afraid. I was not even afraid that my life was at stake. Towards the middle of the session, I went ahead and invited every single the production level staff and the union people. I went in front of, essentially connected with a handshake with each person in the room. and invited them to trust me in this process. I just wanted them to trust me as a person and open up for a conversation. I don't know how I did it. I was fairly young at that time. And all of them were very senior men. There were not a single other woman in the room except the HR lady who was able to come in to just to introduce me. And I was so surprised. These people were so aggressive. They even questioned her, "Who are you?" And I was surprised, like, don't they know the person who's doing their salaries every month? No, it was almost like they were insultingly talking to her. Anyhow, it was in my hands to build that connection, make them feel safe, come from a genuine place, authentic place of helping them. Long story short, everyone was feeling safe. Everyone was feeling safe and open and willing to solve the situation rather than aggravating it. Same day evening, senior management from overseas and from the country, after a month or so, I can't remember the time frame, but they were not even able to visit the factory premises. But for the first time, they were able to come and meet them and have a conversation, a negotiation in terms of starting up the production. And rest is history. Within less than a week, the production commenced and their problem resolved. So I invite you to go through the content of this video, understand what I'm trying to communicate to you. And I'm doing this to add value to life. This is the only way that I know how to add value. So I believe this model, Neurological Levels, can help you align the awareness about the present environmental situation where you are in, your behaviors, what you do in the environment, and in terms of your competencies, how you behave in the way you behave, which caused the problem, to bring about an understanding about that, and then to become aware of the values and beliefs causing the current level of competency, and to become aware of who you are, the positive and the negatives, the light and the dark sides of your identity as a person, how you built your identity as a person, and evolving beyond your identity and finding out your inner calling as a being. And with that awareness, at that level, we call there's light of wisdom. There's light. And when you tap into that awareness, that light start lighting up the dark areas in your subconscious. So this is a very powerful model leaders can use to bring not just solutions and resolutions to current situations, but to use the problem situation to create a legend and leave a legend. I thank you for listening and connecting with me. Stay tuned for future value-adding knowledge sharing sessions. Much love and blessings. Jai Shri.